Good morning, everybody, and we want to move into this second phase of this 360 perspective. We're looking at some of the changing dynamics. You heard on the last conference some of the things that are now being thought about in terms of this shifting, the second conference we were around shifting gears, but it's around different perceptions and how the industry actually works. So I'm delighted to welcome to the stage Carrie Longton, who is the founder of Mumsnet. For those of you who want to know more, there's a good bio in the program. But essentially, Carrie is the co-founder of Mumsnet. It's an online community of parents sharing advice, support, and product recommendations. Over the past 17 years, Mumsnet has become the UK's busiest and most influential network for parents, with over 110 million page views a month, 11 million users, over 170 local sites, and a network of over 10,000 influencers. Carrie was listed seventh in the BBC Radio 4 Women's Hour 2013 Power List of the 100 most powerful women in the UK. In 2010, she won Red Magazine's Red Hot Woman of the Year, and Carrie lives in London with her husband and 3 kids, Grace, Noah, and Mimi, and a dog named Boo. I'd like to welcome Carrie to the stage. Please don't underestimate the power of Mumsnet. Carrie.
Should have had me and you and a dog named Boo. Missed a trick there. Anyway, thank you very much indeed for having me today. Before I start, has anyone here ever been on Mumsnet? Any Mumsnets in you? Oh, and a few men. Well done. Thank you. Anyone been on Grandsnet? I challenge you. Get on that or get your parents on it. Has anyone actually got children? Anyone got children? Talking to the converted? Excellent. Anyone ever used Mumsnet for a campaign or done anything with us? I'll come and find you afterwards. Tell me if it worked. Tell me if it didn't. So I met my business partner, my other co-founder of Mumsnet, at antenatal classes when we were pregnant with our first children. And actually, Mumsnet started because she went on holiday with 1-year-old twins, had a terrible time, and came back and said, rather than asking our little postnatal group of 6, wouldn't it be great if we could have asked the World Wide Web where to go? And that was 17 years ago, as we said. And from our very humble beginnings, we are now, as we were saying, the biggest online network of parents in the UK. And people are still talking on Mumsnet about what works and what doesn't work when it comes to spending time with their family outside the home as well as in it. In fact, Mumsnet is basically a forum-based website full of people saying, is it any good? Does it work? Should I do that? Should I not do that? Why did you do that? And AIBU. Anyone know what AIBU stands for? Shout out. It's Am I Being Unreasonable? And friends, if you ever get asked that, the answer is Yabu, you are being unreasonable, or Yanbu, you're not being reasonable, just so you know. We have families of all ages and stages, from preconception right through to teens and beyond to grandparents. And insight's a core to our business. And a lot of what I'm going to say today is based on me asking our audience what they think about your industry. As well as co-founding Mumsnet, as you've heard, I'm mum to these 3 marvellous children, one currently doing her first A-level as we speak, one just halfway through GCSEs. So I'm very much a consumer as well as a spokesperson for families. And I could base my entire talk on my own experiences of hospitality industry, whether that's working in a cafe, age 15, earned £5 a day in Cleveland, thank you very much, in the last century, by the way. Eating out with my own family in pubs, restaurants, cafes, going on holidays to hotels or to go to theme parks. I'm actually from Blackpool, so the home of hospitality, let's face it. And it always looks like this, I can tell you, even on a day like today. So hospitality is ingrained in my DNA. But I didn't want to be a focus group of one, so when I knew I was coming here, I trawled through all the conversations on Mumsnet and looked at some of the work we've done with your industry over the years. And hopefully I've teased out some actionable takeaways and at least some thought starters to demonstrate how you can think about families, as well as actually, crucially, of course, thinking about everybody else. And I've got 20 whole minutes to give you a perspective on what families, and I would say, from my perspective, mums, want from your incredibly diverse and demanding industry. So I'm going to go quite fast. Hopefully you don't need persuading that mums and families matter. No doubt you're going to be bombarded with statistics as the day goes on, but hopefully you won't need statistics so that mums are usually either wholly or at least partly responsible for organising hospitality adventures, whether that's holidays, days out, trips to restaurants, cafes. And I'd also argue, and I think someone else on the panel said, that these are precious times for these parents. So they take the responsibility for choosing what to do, where to go seriously. And they have understandably strong views both on what they want and what they expect from brands and businesses and what you could do to improve that experience. So today I'm going to suggest that in order to attract and retain more family custom, you need all the E's. You need to empathise, engage and enfranchise, create family experiences, endear yourselves with the little everyday things, and perhaps even experiment a little. And if you can do all that, you will reap the economic benefits, because let's face it, I think that's what we would need to do. So empathy. It's a bit hackneyed, it's been used quite a lot, but it's still my favourite word in the English dictionary. And I think it's particularly important for your industry. Over the years, we've done lots and lots of work with different hospitality groups, but one of the most in-depth studies we ever did was for a pizza chain, a pizza restaurant chain, when they wanted to find out how families wanted to be treated in the family-friendly restaurants of the future. As you'd expect, there was lots of talk about space for their buggies, different age-appropriate menus, all the new things to play with, but actually, the main thing that emerged from this very in-depth study, we talked to about 5,000 women, was that so much of what families felt about the experience of being in a restaurant was shaped by what happened before they even came through that door. The fact that a mum with small children had perhaps not spoken to another adult all day, or someone had had a row in the car on the way there, or someone had been car sick, or someone had been fighting, someone had been crying, and it was probably mum. And then they walked through the door of that restaurant, ever so slightly dreading the ordeal ahead of them, as only a mum with small children in tow knows how. And what did they want? Well, one mum summed it up. It would be great if they could put themselves in a knackered parent's position. That would really make my life easier. When we work with any client-facing business, not just restaurants or hospitality, you often find that the people serving families don't yet have children, through no fault of their own. I'm sure you discussed that. It's a very young industry. They've no idea what it's like to eat out with a toddler, or a restless child, or a sullen teenager, although perhaps they can identify with a sullen teenager because they are perhaps one themselves. So when we did this work, we used all the mumsletters' comments about how they wanted to be treated to create an empathy training DVD, explaining all those little things that mums instinctively understand about eating out with children, but non-parents, through no fault of their own, just don't get. And then this DVD was given to every employee at this restaurant. So whether you were a teen doing a weekend shift or someone who's starting on a management traineeship or a career there, it was just a way of saying these are small actions you can make a big difference. Things like saying, "How are you?" Sounds so simple. Let me move this ridiculously tall vase and glassware off the table before it gets smashed all over the floor. Let me bring your child water and bread instantly. And by the way, I know it's 4:30 and you probably don't feel like eating, but would you like a glass of wine? Would you like no judgment. Would you like a cup of tea? It could even just be the tone of your voice, admiring their potentially quite ugly child, telling them not to worry about the mess. It's more about understanding that these things made a huge difference to someone's day, so much so that they will keep coming back, even if they don't much like your pizza. Mums talked about the eye prick moment, when someone is so nice to you that you think you might cry. Has anyone ever had that? You think I'm joking. When I was at home with 2 small children, I would regularly ring First Direct, ostensibly to check my balance, but basically just to hear the warm northern tones of somebody being nice to me. Sad but true. So back to the initial research. At the grand opening of this new restaurant that we'd helped created with mums, one of the lovely young Italian waitresses, because it was a pizza restaurant, said, "Thank you for the DVD. Now I know what it is to be a mother." I'm not sure she did, but she was a little bit closer, and it made her so proud, and it made her able to do her job, and it made all the difference to the families, I'm sure, that she went on to serve. And as well as helping those families you're also helping your staff. You're making them feel that they're more able to do their job. You're demonstrating how important they are to your business, offering them training they can take on whatever they do in their future lives. So I've got more, but if you take nothing else away from today, the next time you look at your training program, please think about empathy training, helping those who serve families understand a bit more what it's like to be that family. You can't prepare your staff for everything. All families are different. We talk about that a lot. But you can help them in some very basic ways to make a difference. And if you need help with that, come and talk to me. So empathise. What about engaging and enfranchising? Well, one of the reasons I was asked here today is because of the work we've done with Butlins. As well as being part of the BHA, Butlins have been part of our Mumsnet Family Friendly programme for the past 5 years, winning the much coveted Gold Award, which they use on their brochures and in TV advertising, as well as in their recruitment, crucially. And the programme and the endorsement fits very much with the holistic 360-degree view you're taking today, because we knew that mums wanted to spend money in these places, and they wanted to spend money where families are treated well. But we also know that 2/3 of our mums work full or part-time. So they wanted to spend their money in places where the employees are treated well as the families using those services. So being part of the programme meant Butlins had already seen an uplift in their sales, and it was all going well with our audience. But they took it a stage further. So when they were building their chalets in Minehead a few years ago, they came to us and said, what would your mums like if they were building the chalets that they wanted? So we did a survey and said, what would mums like if they were going away for a mini break in the UK? And the list was not rocket science particularly, but it was interesting. They wanted chalets built around a sort of grassy area so they could sit and watch their children playing. They didn't want TVs in the bedrooms or any screens at all, but they wanted a TV and a squidgy sofa in the lounge so they could snuggle up as a family and watch a DVD. And they wanted board games for those lovely, glorious summer days like we're having today. And none of that, as I said, is that unusual, but the very fact that Butlins asked mums the question made the mums feel more warmly about that brand. So I spent last week revising Psychology A-level. For anyone interested, it's tomorrow. Please think of my daughter. One of the topics was relationships, and I feel I have a deeper understanding now of what makes relationships work. It's a bit late for me. But one of the key things is that people like to be asked questions, and they like people to listen to the answers. And consumers are no exception. Every single time you ask someone a question, you are marketing to them. You are saying, we care enough about your opinion to help you shape our brand so we can serve you better. And that's not all. So by getting mums involved, they obviously got these fantastic chalets, they spread the word on Mumsnet, and they sold lots of holidays to mums. But the PR that they generated through it went way beyond Mumsnet. They were in this is just a couple, they were in literally every newspaper, both at the time of the survey and then when the chalets were launched. They got a reach of around 9.2 million just in newspapers. So by listening to mums, by empathising, engaging, and kind of enfranchising them, bringing them into your business, giving them a stake in your company, you can help shape your strategy, and you can also help shape your marketing at the same time. And in today's frantic, time-poor society, I'd also say, what are you doing to create family experiences? Whether it's stopping at a service station or for a coffee on the high street or going out for a restaurant, a movie, taking a flight, whatever it is, it matters that you get that experience right. We've got a saying, maybe everyone says, but in our family, we bank good experiences, we put them in the bank, and we also say, be careful, because you never know when you're making a memory. And that means that when you offer someone anything from a cup of hot chocolate to a visit to a stately home, you're part of somebody's family folklore. You're part of their childhood and you're part of their heritage. And this is a huge responsibility. And it's worth taking seriously in itself, but it's also, in terms of economics, it's huge. You get it right, and the whole family, for the whole family, and you create what we call positive pester power. That sweet spot where the kids are desperately asking to go back to a place that you as a parent want to take them to. And it's the holy grail, I would suggest, for all your establishments. I love going to theme parks. I tell you, it's in my DNA. I can't go on the rides anymore. I get vertigo. It's horrific. But I love the look on my kids' faces when I say we're going for the day. Disney built years' worth of campaigns on we're going to Disneyland. And the National Trust have also built a very successful ad campaign on that, building family moments. And giving our children joy while spending proper family time away from screens and stress makes parents feel like better parents. And any company that can make me feel like a better parent is going to get my vote and my custom. So think about how you can create that family moment, something families can do together, a safe haven where they can have some fun. There's a lot of emphasis, and quite rightly, I used all those kids club, don't worry, when mine were younger. There's a lot of emphasis on giving parents a break from their kids, and that has its place. But in a world where the majority of parents work at least 47 weeks a year, and their kids are in childcare perhaps for 8 till 6. What we often crave is more time as a family, not less. So how can you create a stress-free environment where that family time can happen? And next, it's the little everyday things you can do to endear yourself, which comes back, I guess, as always, to empathy. So again, when I knew I was coming here, I asked the Mumsnet mums for their views, and this mum, again, summed up a lot of the feedback. The places that stand out did the little things they probably didn't even notice that made a huge difference. She went on to talk about them not snickering when she asked for plain pasta with cheese on the side. And when she said, can I feed my baby grapes before the food comes? They went, yeah, of course. There were a lot of different little things and a few common themes, but food, obviously, you'd expect, came up over and over again. Here's one Mumsnetter's comment from a less than happy view she had about some pub food research we did recently. Has Jamie Oliver taught you nothing? We've done lots of work over the years with brands and families, as well as asking parents what they wanted in the family eating space. And it sounds so obvious, but parenting and guilt go hand in hand. They say guilt comes with the placenta. And food is one of the huge areas of guilt for families. A completely surefire way to ensure that parents will enjoy a day or a night out with their kids so much more is if they think the kids have had something proper to eat rather than frozen rubbish. Now, as someone literally who could get an Olympic gold in fussy eating children, don't ever watch my children eat, I've got a lot of sympathy for a venue that churns out chicken nuggets and chips because they're doing what the kids want and what they'll eat. But it's a fine balance. I'm not saying we've got to give them calves, livers and artichokes, but I am saying that if we can put a man on the moon, surely we can make a decent, wholesome fish finger or chicken nugget with a choice of veg, or some pasta with some vegetable by stealth tomato sauce. Listen to me, mums. I want proper food on children's menus. A pub near us does mini portions of a selection of the main dishes, rather than a separate menu of, pardon share language, that's how mums speak, I'm afraid, microwaved crap. I don't want my son to eat beige and chips. It goes back to the holy grail of positive pester power, something kids really love and they'll pester their parents to go back for, but that parents are really happy to give to their children. And it doesn't have to be elaborate. My daughter is the fussiest child in the world, my youngest. She's in Wales at the moment. God knows what she's eating on a school trip, probably nothing. But she loves Heinz tomato soup. So we fly EasyJet pretty much because they serve Heinz tomato soup. And it makes my life and my holiday so much easier. And incidentally, little fact for you, EasyJet, you probably know this, talking about gin this morning, they switched their regular gin for Hendrick's and doubled the amount of gin and tonics they sold. And that's what I call a healthy choice. But I digress. If you don't have a strong sense of what a good family-friendly menu might look like, who are you going to call? You ask some families. And if you're scared of that, just give them some options that you would be happy to cook or to have your chef would be happy to cook. And ask them for the choices within those choices. You never know, like Butlins, you may even get some good PR out of it. The kids' meal designed by kids or by mums for kids. Oh, there you go. Disappeared. But you'll certainly get mums telling their friends that you've created the only place on earth that sells Marmite toast with a dippy egg, which is frankly what I wish all your establishments would serve, because that's the only thing, again, apart from tomato soup, that my daughter will eat. But it's not about me. Anyway, obviously, something's gone on my slides down here, friends. But you're still seeing this, that's good. Obviously, parents love their children being entertained in the boring bits of life, whether that's waiting for food, waiting to get on a plane. And some of the brands that we've worked with, like Heathrow, who are part of our family-friendly program, have these amazing play areas. Some of the pubs we've worked with have places like this that make me want to go and play. But honestly, the most popular little thing that parents asked for from you, wait for it, it's rather mildly tragic, crayons. Crayons, my friends. Ideally sharp crayons, perhaps with some paper. The greasiest greasy spoon should be able to supply these, but so often it seems to be beyond some of the bigger chains. Honestly, nice crayons, pens, a sharpener, some colouring sheets make all the difference when your children are small. Rubbish, broken, chewed crayons are basically shorthand for get lost, we don't care. I'd also say that in the post-iPad generation, anything that gets your family talking will win you business. Back to that family experiences moment. If you're somewhere where families need to sit and wait or just, I'd highly recommend, if you haven't already, investing in some board games, some packs of cards, Cluedo, Uno. Listen to this. One pub we went to had packs of cards and board games you could borrow. We loved that. It was great to play a game together while we waited for our food. And we stayed longer with more drinks as a consequence. So speculate to accumulate. Board games. Watch the Hendrick's bills go up. Another little thing, speed. Whether that's getting food, getting bread on the table, getting breadsticks, pre-food, getting the bill. Getting on a plane, checking in. For families, every second counts. Listen to this, Mum. I'd like recognition that when we ask for the bill, it's because our 3-year-old and her 1-year-old brother have reached their tolerance for the length of time they can sit still. Please just take our money. Take it! We want to give it to you. And you can have your table back for more paying customers. She went on to say, we recently went to Oaxaca. Not sure if Oaxaca are here. Not only was their children's menu brilliant, but they gave us a table number when they delivered the mains and told us we wanted to leave. We could pay on the app and leave when we wanted. I practically tap danced out of that restaurant. It's such a small difference, such a small thing, but it made such a difference. Small things, big difference. And finally, no talk about families, I don't think, would really be complete without toilets. Never, my friends, ever underestimate the power of a nice, clean toilet. It is huge, and it's one of the most common themes in our family-friendly programme, strange but true. And in this instance, I'm afraid, sometimes size does matter. If you're designing toilets from scratch, make sure you can ideally fit a buggy or another child in with you, ideally a wheelchair, and have hooks, shelves to put your paraphernalia on, free nappy bags if you can push yourself that far. And if it's a changing station, make sure it's unisex. Too many places still only assume that women can change a nappy. If you've ever been, anyone's been to the Winslows here, obviously most of you won't, but some of you will, they have a bed in there. I'm really liking that. There's a bed in the ladies' toilets, friends. We can all have a lie down if you want one. I think a whole new level. Well done, hotel. But I would say after staff training then, after empathy training, again, if you take nothing else away from this morning, never neglect your toilets. And then when you've thought about the little things and your toilets and you're thinking about them, everything else, don't forget to occasionally be bold and experiment. Maybe look at what you've been doing for years and have the courage to ask, do we have to do it that way? Or could we perhaps do it in a different way to suit some people? I have to admit, I'd really challenge the concept of having your hotel room cleaned daily. You see those little things saying if you don't want your sheets changed or your things, you know, it's saving the environment. You think, yeah, right. Not saving, do you want to change my sheets? But maybe that's true. Sorry, that's very cynical. But until now, I asked these Mumsnet users, I'm coming here, what for your thoughts on the hospitality industry? I've never come across this one. This woman says, one thing I liked at a Hallmark hotel is if you stayed for more than one night, they gave you the option of a free drink in the bar as an alternative to having your room made up. To be honest, I'd rather not have my room made up. I don't think it's necessary. And you have to undo what they've done to that bed. You know that thing, that moment you pull all the bed covers out, they've tucked in so tightly. An alternative of free booze, back to the main theme, is always good. And I bet the first person to suggest that at Hallmark got shouted down. What on earth are you talking about? Of course we've got to make their beds. Of course we have. But it sounds like they were prepared to experiment. And at least for that Mumsnetter, that experiment worked. And there must be loads of things that you've always done that perhaps could be looked at differently, that may even save you money, as well as endearing you to people. Families and mums in particular always having to think outside the box to make ends meet, to solve the arguments, to persuade their partners to do something they don't want to do. So use their ideas and incorporate them into your business. And finally, when you're looking for the everyday little things, don't forget that families, consumers, I'm sure you won't, but they come in all shapes and sizes, and that can sometimes surprise you. On Mumsnet, we have a large number of special needs families. You can imagine that. If you're coming somewhere looking for advice, you've got this journey you weren't expecting. They come to Mumsnet and they find support in that community. But even I, who've been on Mumsnet 17 years amongst this community, didn't expect praise for package holidays from the parents of autistic children. This woman said, there are brands I would repeatedly use because their reliability and trust. First Choice and Thompson. They're all as it says on the tin. I have to be able to say to my daughter, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing. It reduces her anxiety, and if I can keep her calm, the family is calm. Makes me go cold, that. If I was a travel company, I'd be perhaps capitalising on that ability to help a small but valuable sector of my audience. And again, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because even though I, as a parent, am fortunate enough not to have autistic children, I know a lot of people who have, and I love a company more, and will tell everybody about the company that's doing something to help people who do have autistic children. It's the right thing to do, and it makes economic sense. Equally, if a company makes it difficult for a family with special needs, it makes me a bit cross. One of the mums we talked about said she used a carer's pass system to go to a theme park for her autistic son, and the goalpost kept moving. And the latest one, they wanted a consultant's letter, and she knew that costed the NHS £250, and that made her too. She didn't want to do that. She didn't want to waste that money. So it's not something you want associated with your brand. But as well as special needs families, families comes in all shapes and sizes. We've got people who need bigger hotel rooms, smaller hotel rooms, single parents, adjoining rooms. 5 people in a family, how rare? It's not that rare. 22% of Mumsnet on Mumsnet have 3 children or more. And the other overlooked sector is teens. I have a teenage DS, which is dear son, nearly 17. He'd like to see facilities for teens available in hotels or holiday parks, rental of games consoles, somewhere teens can hang out, not aimed at children, not full of disapproving glares. The hospitality industry doesn't seem to target teenagers who holiday. Kids' clubs are aimed at much smaller children. I think teenagers are overlooked in pretty much all industries, actually. I think they're an underrated species, and they're fantastic. And yet they have more pester power in most families than any number of pouting toddlers. If you can get any company that can create that positive family time for a family that includes teenagers, you're going to definitely make friends and influence people. And how do you do that again? You ask. You ask mums, you ask teenagers. You involve them, you enfranchise them, and you show them that you've thought about what they might want, even if it's just a place they can chill out away from little kids and old folks. I am coming into land now. When I asked the Mumsnet users for their input, again, one comment more than any other jumped out and made me think. The best welcomes we've had as family have been from smaller businesses where they can put the extra effort in. What is that saying about some of the big players in this room? That in spite of your massive resources, your budget, your staff numbers, that somehow you can't be bothered to put the effort in? None of what I've said today is new news. It just takes someone within your organisation to own it, to challenge what's perhaps been done in the same way forever, and to look at every single thing you do, from your premises to your staff training, through the prism of what might work for families. The comment made me think about a hotel chain. It's a happy memory, so it comes back quite quickly. I was taken to once for a big birthday when my children were smaller. Admittedly, for the cost of the weekend, we probably could have bought another child. But as you arrive, in my case, slightly nervously, and for the first time, at the Four Seasons in Hampshire, not only is there this dog, which immediately made me feel at home. As you know, I love a dog. But there's also a trunk full of cheap magazines and toys in the check-in area. And there's some little steps, so when your child's got their magazine and toy, they can climb up the steps and be at eye level with the lady who's checking you in. And I remember thinking, crikey, someone with kids has really thought about that. And my shoulders went down. And I knew, even before I saw those child-sized bathrobes and the little bath things spelling out their names on the bath, that this was going to be a really good one night away, because that's all we could afford. And I don't remember what we ate. I don't even remember what the room looked like, but I really remember the genuine welcome that was made to my kids that made the stay there so memorable. And it meant on the next big birthday that we saved up for, I went back again. Because all of this is not about being nice. It's about economics. Ronnie Schuster is the former CEO of Telefonica, and he said, empathy is not a soft, nurturing value, but a hard commercial tool that every business needs in its DNA. So yes, it's a good thing. It's great to show you care. Being family-friendly is the right thing to do. And let's face it, in the current climate, we could all do with a little bit more altruism and a bit more kindness. But equally, parents want to go out. We've heard that again this morning. They want to go on holiday with their kids of all ages, from babies to teens. And if your brand can create an environment that really works for families, you'll get more business. End of story. So taking note of what families want and being family-friendly makes total economic sense and is worth investment. I could, and I often do, go on. But as I say, yours is a large and diverse industry, and if you'd like a more targeted approach to your challenges, I'd be more than happy to come and have what Mum's had said you also need to have: a nice cup of coffee or a nice herbal tea and a nice biscuit with you at any time and chew the fat on this. I haven't even touched on what Mum said about why they would and wouldn't want their children going into your industry. Again, if you want to talk about that, I'd happily talk about that later. But hopefully there's something in what I've said that struck a chord, even if it's just reinforcing what you're already doing or planning to do. And if by any chance you do make any changes based on what I've said today, then please give me a call. I'd love to come and try it out. Enjoy, have fun, and thank you for listening.